So earlier today, I had fasted 16 hours. I needed to break the fast, unfortunately, because I'm living in Phoenix where it's 110 degrees and I like to go out for walks. But I think I'll stay away from carbohydrates for the time being. So I had a half a dozen eggs and I have my favorite baking chocolate. Now, for some reason, carbohydrates cause me to become very heavy-hearted, argue with people, and just take things too seriously. So this week is the Computer Olympiad. I cannot find most of my opponents. They're in different time zones. Unfortunately, we only have a couple competitors from the United States, which I don't understand. You don't even need to travel anymore, and they don't want to do it. And so I'm having a little bit of difficulty finding some of my opponents. And then I had another situation that was a little bit more dramatic, that could have been more dramatic, that I handled very well. What had happened was that I'm eyeing the idea of traveling again, especially to Poland. And I was looking up a place that I had gone a few years ago in 2017, actually 16 and 17. I had stayed in a hostel in Warsaw, Poland, and I really got to know the owner's daughter. The owner and their two kids, they both live in that hostel that they own. I don't think they have another home outside of that, but that's Poland, right? That would never fly here in the United States. I got to know the owner's daughter. She was fascinated with the computer games that I'm writing, and one night, this was summer 2017, so you can look up what phase of Jupiter it was in, but I went out to show her how to zoom into Jupiter and to take photographs of the moons of Jupiter, but she was a little bit too young for me at the time. I think she was 17 or 18 years old, and I was hoping that at the time, the Computer Olympiad was almost always held in Europe, and I thought I would just go see her every year. In 18 and 19, we had the Olympiad in Taiwan and then Macau, and I never got to see her again. And she's made a very lasting impression on me, giving me a lot of motivation over the last few years, believe it or not, because very rarely do I meet a girl who not only helps run a business for her family, but also very book smart as well, right? Book smarts and street smarts. And I really wanted to get to know her after she's all grown up, but unfortunately, these last few years have had other plans on us. So last year when I went to look up the hostel, I couldn't find it because they had turned into a quarantine facility. I think the city, or maybe the whole country of Poland, had bought the place and turned it into a quarantine facility where people would fly into Poland and take a bus there and quarantine for 14 days or something like that. And it doesn't help that I don't read Polish, so I can't understand if the family's still running it or if it's somebody else running it. But I finally... So I've been thinking about her for very long. She's been giving me a lot of inspiration to stay strong. And when I talk about her to some of my friends, I call her Mary Curry Jr., right? Because Mary Curry was also both book smart and street smart, right? But I have and finally I find out about them, and I go to Facebook to look up her name, and I'm kind of crossing my fingers, hoping that she's still single. But in the back of my mind, I'm hoping that she's already taken too, because I don't want to deal with the uncertainty of approaching her and seeing what's going on. And so I open up the Facebook. She's still single, and my heart sinks, believe it or not. That's how I feel when I'm on 16 hours fasting. And I broke the fast, and I still feel happy about it. I got to think about how I'm going to take in carbohydrates, though, or maybe I just have to go on a very low carbohydrate diet for the rest of my life, because that's how I do very well. I haven't had any refined carbohydrates for how long now? 17, 18 years, right? And I definitely feel a lot better than before. But even the brown rice, the quinoa, even that kind of stuff throws me a little bit. The blue corn chips I love. Five Guys is the only fast food restaurant that makes fries that are suitable for me. They use pure peanut oil. But that always throws my mental state for a loop, and I'll have to think if that's worthwhile. Unfortunately, it's already hard for me to go out for social events. Eating carbs also makes me antisocial. I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? That's kind of unfortunate. Unfortunately, my dream utopia is one day we live in a world where people accept each other for what they eat. Unfortunately, that's probably at least a few decades away, right? Anyway, I felt very happy today because of the fasting, and I might not even contact Mary Curry Jr., right? Or at least only contact her to congratulate her for I think she graduated from school. I mean, it's tough that she probably doesn't have a formal graduation ceremony. All right, that's how I feel about fasting. Thanks for watching.